I will dominate, and this is Thorin's channel. The guy who, if I keep on associating with him, will get me banned on Twitch eventually.
We can do the Gamer Subs ad now. Yes, we can do the Gamer Subs commercial now, Thorin. Okay, Gamer Subs is a delicious energy formula. And of course, you must be mentioning das ist keto-friendly. It's keto-friendly, many different flavors. I don't think you should mention that, personally. Comes in 1600 top size. Stop this commercial. I can't. Shut up, Bjergsen. Anyway, they also have a bunch of shakers in. So use the code Thorin, Thorin, for 10% off your order at gamersubs.gg. Now, comms, communications, particularly in League of Legends, so I've specified it to this game, I think are mega overvalued. Like, you hear all the time from pros, like, they're so proud and everyone's talking, or they want everyone on their team talking. Similarly, they're better, like, just talk calm everything, and then we have all the info, right, guys? They want everyone in the team participating, even if one guy's like a fucking Korean guy who struggles in English, you can short circuit this whole game. This guy just doesn't even have a fucking clue and would actually tell you the wrong things. The smartest guys getting talked over, like certain teams that I've known about. They don't want sometimes just a primary shot caller, central person who makes a lot of the decisions. They want to like have a debate and have a democracy inside a fucking live game of League of Legends where every second counts. And certain Korean and Chinese teams aren't having those discussions. They're just going in or going out, etc. So LS made this point, and I linked it here, where he was talking about teams doing silent scrims. Do scrims where you literally don't have comms at all. And then afterwards you talk about what it was, or you have a scrim with comms, etc. And he just trains you to play the game, in this case, like if you just had no comms or there was some sort of an issue. But I think it's actually got more value to it. So he talks about this scenario where apparently in Hanwha Life Esports, and potentially even Griffin, because I know famously Griffin, they used to say they had like very weird comms and how they played on each other. Supposedly Chovy, who might actually be, by the way, the best player in all of League of Legends, if you just go and watch him play, supposedly, he basically likes the idea that they don't talk, and it's essentially just like, look, whatever the fuck I do, or whatever it seems like I'm doing, you just follow the lead of me. So I think this is actually a genius idea. For a start off, when you're as absurdly good as he is, or maybe a faker in the past, or rookie, or somewhat oozy eye, people in your team must learn, it's one of the most important things, how to play around you most times in the game. Now, listen, you could tell them that every time, and they could go, oh, are you sure? But how about if they just play around you in the game? Just tell them, just do it. Like, we'll worry about it later. Like, just try to understand what I'm doing without me asking, and just do what you think is the logical, appropriate next thing to do in line with all the conversations we've had about the game, how we play, who we are as players. Because this whole thing of like, oh, but I didn't know what you meant, but like I wanted to just be sure. This is one of the biggest problems in the modern world, and it goes outside of just League of Legends. Like I have this problem in the business world. I keep meeting all these businessmen from America. They can't just tell me like yes or no in an email, or yes or no to something. No matter how much we've written between DMs, they have to have like the 1 hour call that they schedule in on Google Meet, and then they go there, and it should be a 10-minute discussion, but you know, there's the background, and there's the thing, and well, here's where I'm coming from. They say, yeah, but I understand that. So let's just 4 and 5 times keep passing it back and forward, the same thing, and then eventually at the end agree to do it anyway, like we were going to. Or even worse, fucking don't agree at the end after all that, and we're not even really like explicating more on it. Obviously all could just be in a 5-minute email. So one of the problems is too many people want that handheld. There's no fucking men in the world, so everyone wants to discuss everything, or they want 50 confirmations for what they already know. They want to ask a question they already know to get validation that they know stuff and that the other guy knows that I know that. Like, oh my god, we're playing the game. We're just playing the game, boys. We're trying to win now. We're not trying to do all this fucking extra shit. So in my opinion, in this case, this is why I like the concept of the silent scrim. Just go in. We'll worry about it later. I'll tell you later if I actually wasn't trying to signal to go in that regard. We'll watch some VODs of it, and you'll learn to see the little hints in that regard. And then when it's a real game and you have to talk, it's going to be something important. It's going to be something really meaningful. And then I'm going to know that means something. It's not just going to be fucking all this noise around me, like a fly just buzzing around my fucking head while I'm trying to watch something, etc. Basically, if you understand how I think, you're going to have a pretty good chance of guessing what I think, even if you haven't been in that scenario yet, to some degree. Now, one of the other reasons I've always actually also been a proponent of less comms, or less is more, or just make the comms better and lesser, more efficient, is because I've seen in other games how it doesn't matter. It's not about the team that comms the most. That ain't the team that wins. If anything, I think the team that comms the most is probably the worst team with the worst setup, the worst communicators, the worst decision-making process, and players who, quite frankly, aren't leaders. So I remember in CSGO, as a very brief example, the best team ever at the time in 2015 was the Fnatic team with Olofmeister, Scrims, JW, Pronax, who was the other player? Scrims, yeah. Flusher, of course. How could I forget my old lifting pal? Now, in this team, right, they were unbelievable at, like, responding to things in the game, the way they played off each other, like, they in clutch scenarios, like, all of my Scrims were unreal at winning, like, 2v3s, 2v4s. Now, if ESL event happened, where they released some of the VODs from this, ESL Pro League Season 1, when they released the VODs, and it had these, like, comms put over it rarely, in a rare scenario, a lot of people were like, oh my God, let's find out what they're like. And I went in there, listened, and I got someone who knew Swedish to translate, and they were like, yeah, this is mental, mate. Like, they are barely comming. Like, they say very simple things. Sometimes they don't say something, they seem to know what each other's doing. Like, they're telepathic, dude. How are they doing this? Then I think of NA comms in both CSGO and League of Legends. And it's like I did in that intro. That's not sort of spam. It's people like, same name, this guy. While we're in a team fight where, like, not everyone's even targeting him. Like, what the person who's supporting or peeling, or like, fucking hell. And also, similarly, like, oh, can we do Baron? I don't know if we should. Like, I think we should. I think there's still time left. Oh, but we have to back off now. Like, debates about shit, about whether we're going to do this scenario or not, something that we should already have a game plan for anyway, and our sense for where we are in the... No. They're having fucking whole discussions. You think it was like fucking Canadian Parliament or something? It's mental. Like, the back and forth, like, well, so I disagree. Well, I think I should be doing that. Well, then I see the rest of my time. Like, fucking hell, is this for real, mate? So then I think to myself in League of Legends, who won Worlds in Season 8? Oh, was that Invictus Gaming, IG, and stomped the fuck out of everyone in the final? Oh, right. Well, that team, in case you don't know, I know it was the case at one point in time. As far as I know, this is still the case. Supposedly, the Shy doesn't speak Chinese. So that means he can't speak to some of those teammates, except Rookie. And the Chinese players, they don't speak Korean. So they either communicate in English. By the way, nearly all of them are going to have busted up English, except maybe Rookie. And it goes without saying, like, there's not really any real connection between Chinese and Korean beyond some characters. Like, there's no communication factor there. But it didn't matter. They were fucking insane, and they won Worlds. Now, if you don't know, back in 2014, Starhorn Royal Club, amazingly, out of nowhere, made the final of Worlds with Uzi I. Now, what a lot of people might not know is they had two Korean players in their team, Zero and Insec. Insec had only gone over that year to China, and he did not speak Chinese. In fact, supposedly, they communicated with him, this is not a joke, with pings in the map, and he would just go to those spots and just go in, and then you just hope it all works out. Now, there's actually a classic example I can take from sports as to what I'm going for here with how you set up a team and how you think of a team so that comms don't have to be the fix after the fact. They're just a band-aid after the fact. There's a very great football/soccer manager called Brian Clough. He actually comes from my area, funnily enough. And he won the European Cup with Nottingham Forest. Like, there's no way they should ever been able to do that. He got them, like, promoted and then immediately won the European Cup, basically. He was brilliant with Derby County. He has a very infamous period with Leeds where they made that great movie, The Damned United, which is a pretty cool movie. Actually, they did a pretty good impression of him, but it doesn't cover, like, his really successful period in that one. Now, this guy was very famous for having a very set way about how he brings up his teams and how he coaches them, but he would always get the best out of the players he did, and he would get way more than he should have, and he would win championships when he should have just been, like, just a good team or a mid-table team. So one of the things he would do, I'll even see if I can link you a video here, is he would basically, when he had his players, he had an idea of how each position in the game played, and he would just tell you when you come in, this is what you do. So if you're the goalkeeper, he would go, like, just keep the fucking ball out my net. And then if you're a defender, he'd go, pass the ball away from my goal. Basically, he's telling you, like, if you're the goalie, you just worry about fucking saving it, mate. Don't worry about what the defense is doing. Defensive player, I don't want you dicking around with a lot of passes at the back, like old school fucking 80s Liverpool. You're just passing it forwards, mate. The midfielders will take care of it after. He had a great life, like midfielders, some shit like, when you got the ball, pass it to someone who can actually fucking do something with it, you know, like, to get it to the striker. Essentially, in his own very rough, very working class way, he explained his whole philosophy of the game through the roles so that each person knew their job. Where does that sound familiar? Bill Belichick, just do your job. That's what we're talking about here. Instead of every player, you can all play all the positions and think about the game. And here, let's do a VOD review where we all talk about high-level macro concept and what the jungle is doing in space. No, this guy had, here's all my set aspects. And that way, if something goes wrong, I can go back through the circuit and go, that's where it broke down. This guy can't do his job. And by the way, if you couldn't do your job, he'd just fire you, mate. He'd just say, get the fuck out. And so he gave them the basic outline of their role, and he specifically tried to recruit players, even if they were lesser players, who could do that role. Like, I think it was McGovern was the name of this player. He got way more out of them than he ever should have. But because he knew exactly what he would use this player for and what he could do. And he also, by the way, he did have this guy, Brian Taylor, who was sort of the brains behind his team. I'll mention that as well. Brian Clough was the salesman who could get it across to you, though. Now, my point here, it's a point I've always made about comms, is comms essentially a scaffolding. So you make a team And when you make this team, you're not going to know each other. You're not going to know what he wants. I'm not going to know what's going to happen next. So initially, you use the comms like you build up scaffolding so you can build up from the foundation the building that you want to create, this incredible apartment complex maybe, or business enterprise place. But you know what? Once you built it, you take down the scaffolding, don't you? That's what teams don't do. They try to stick or make more scaffolding in this scenario. No. Once we understand each other, let's cut some of that out. So I've got thinking time. Remember what Doper said about Faker? That he would abuse the fact that people only have so much sort of awareness meter. And if you can distract them and make them think, worry about this, and then attack them here, and fake off here or back off it, you're just drawing some of that awareness away so that then you can put them in a hard decision-making point. And it's going to be way harder to make the correct decision or to make multiple sort of looks on the screen and know what's going on from multiple angles. So basically, you're doing that to yourself when you have too many comms. What you want to do is the best team ever would only come when necessary. They would come arguably the least of almost every team in the game. Except maybe, by the way, if you have a god tier shot like a Giant B, Yellowstone. If you have one of those people, yeah, they might be talking a lot because they also might want to just inform you of things and maybe even help you do your job if you're in a certain role like the jungler or something, which I've heard in some of these teams. So this is why, way back in the day, it was in 2013, I did an AMA on the League of Legends subreddit, this is from memory, and basically someone asked me, like, what would your dream team be? And I made a team that was, like, like Mad Life, Faker, Diamond Prox, Soaz, I don't think it was Uzi I back then. I'm not even sure who I put, maybe Imp or something, I don't know who I put as the AD carry. And basically, or Wei Zhao, obviously, when I did this team, I even put people are going to have concerns that they're not going to be able to communicate for obvious reasons. And then I just said, but the point is they will speak the language of the game. And this is a point that LS has made, but it's one I made years ago. Basically, brilliant players understand on some deep, fundamental, intuitive level the way the game is played. So if you put the right players together, they will actually, no joke, just play off each other in a brilliant way. In the same way as when Pau Gasol went to the Lakers, literally within the first 2 games, not only did Pau Gasol have like a sense for the triangle offense, it makes no sense to have come in and be that quick with it, same as Dennis Rodman did, by the way, but also he just played off Kobe immediately and they had like an amazing pick roll right out the gate that was just unreal. And this is ridiculous because he'd worked for years with Bynum and other players and Kwame, and they were never anywhere close to that. Then there's the whole factor of, if you want to talk about like an angle like that, you just come in and it works. How about if you go and you think about players where they play in the European Premier League, the English Premier League, rather, European soccer? Those teams from Italy it was Italy in the 90s, it was Spain in the 2000s, and now it's England from the 2010s on. All the teams are just full of people. Like, this guy's from somewhere in Africa, this guy's from somewhere in South America, this guy's from like Eastern Europe, this guy's from fucking Middle Europe, this guy is English, like this guy's fucking, he's English, but he's fucking, or rather he can speak English, but he's from Scotland or something, so his accent's going to be wrong. Doesn't matter. They make it work and they can be the best teams in the world. Because again, it ain't about like loads of communication, like all speak the same language. No, it ain't about that. There's a concept that comes from the genius Swiss alchemist and chemist Paracelsus. And it goes like this. All things are poison and nothing is without poison. Only the dose makes a thing not a poison. So his point there, by the way, was, if you have a certain amount of salt, it's actually beneficial for your system. If you have way too much salt, it might fuck you up, right? So it's the dosage that depends on whether it hurts or harms you. It's not the actual inherent thing itself, the element or whatever, or the chemical compound in this particular case. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because obviously comms can be good. Comms are necessary at times. But if you have too many comms or too much comms and too much signal noise and too much of the wrong comms, it can be a poison. It can fuck you up. You don't need to know certain things in the game. Or rather, if you do even, it might fuck you up. That might be part of his decision-making process that he's going to change his mind about, but he's telling you, and that's informing what you're thinking you're doing, and then he's changing that. No. In certain scenarios, it'd be better if he said nothing and you just watched what he was doing and you looked at his actions in that sense. It can short-circuit awareness in your team. Like, it's a famous CSGO concept, if you don't know, that when someone's dead, they don't talk, because you can still talk in the game and that. You don't talk over the person who's alive, who's in like a 1v3. Because even if you're giving him good info, like you saw someone, you think, go behind or save now. Like, you might fuck his whole game up. He's got a game plan, he's trying to execute it and think, and you're just tapping into that and distracting him potentially. So I think just like the Shy example, this especially should apply in Western teams, like the LCS, to foreign language players. particularly Koreans, if they don't speak good English. Don't burden them. Don't ask them to talk all the time. Tell them, just give me the basics. Come top now. I go in. Go now. I can't. I base. Give them the simplest comms ever to do and tell them only do it when it's necessary and we'll worry about the rest. We'll com when necessary. It's one of the reasons, by the way, why in H2K back in 2016, Ryu was still actually a legit player and a lot of those players in that team respected him. He didn't have amazing English, but he would just say basic things like that and be super decisive. And he could actually essentially be a shot call like, we go in now. Yes, go now. No, back. And that's all you needed to know. You didn't need a whole sentence or a whole debate. You knew this guy's certain of it. I'm certain of how he thinks about the game. He says it, and let's follow up, right? Let's just do it. Let's do what he says. Because that was a team that could be indecisive, and he was one of the few shot-calling elements in it. Then there's the whole angle of, like, another reason in comms you don't want everyone talking all the time, like I said earlier, is what if the guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about, or they have no understanding of what decision-making to make, and then they're just joining in, and suddenly it's like, 3 against 5, 2, we should do this. Wait a minute, who were the 3 that went? Never mind that, democracy rules. No. Sometimes if you have a single shot caller, I didn't say the only one coming, you have someone where they're the one that's the decision maker. You trust them. They can override a call when the time is short. Because, by the way, the concept in CS that we always have for the in-game leader is sometimes the right call made a second late becomes the wrong call. And that's one of the biggest problems I see in League of Legends. So that might be, yes, go for Baron. No, we're going to back off from this dragon fight. Get out of this skirmish now. We can't win it. Go into the skirmish, even if it's really hard. Yes, go in. These calls have to be made and understood and executed immediately. They can't be a whole debate and a back and forth and 4 different people having their opinion. So if you have a yellow star, you have a Mithy, an N-rated, genius Korean players, Mata, Doinby, in these teams, Reapered, you give that guy priority. He's the one who can overrule everyone, and his game plan probably is the correct one. Like, you should probably be listening to this guy, and I hope this is something people take in. Now, I will say there are cultural differences. Europeans anyway, certain teams, like Nordic teams, for example, they will have a little bit less comms in that regard. Americans do, I've noticed, assigned themselves to that angle of, like, let's hype each other up in emotion, let's ride the wave of emotion. I've always thought that was terrible. Whatever, if that's what makes them comfortable, maybe they can thrive in the chaos. Even so, most of their comms I've ever heard needed trimming down, and especially certain people need to be told when to shut the fuck up because they didn't know what they were talking about. Oi! This video was kindly supported by Eddie, Kris with a K, Lager15, Pronogo, Shenlong, Zachary Carter, Zack Schmidt, Adam Ochs, Alexander Rao, Animosity, Dean Tanglis, Doomseer, ErikHillestad, Hades, Jdubs, Jensen Goh, John Shelton, Joseph Ginsburg, Kovacevicd, Tobias Bernasconi, Zoomba, and Zyrathenia, and as always, special thanks go out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Want to suggest a topic or a guest? Do you want to ask a question in one of those AMAs? Do you want teasers? See who the guests are? Maybe you want to take part and chat with me in one of those esports discussions. Well, for all of the above, put your money where your mouth is, join the Patreon link in the description box below, and become a part of the Skrilluminati.